Casey at 610-701-9243. And joining us in the studio is Neil Vaughn. Neil, a former fire chief in Malvern, now a firefighter in West Grove, and also works on behalf of the Fire Chiefs Association in Chester County, in particular for recruiting volunteer firefighters. And Neil, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. And it's I'm sure it's a very interesting job, and you know, you got to do what you got to do. But we appreciate your heroic efforts.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to get the word out regarding volunteerism here in Chester County.
Well, let me ask you first, why and how did you get involved in firefighting? Was this something you always wanted to do, or just...
Third generation.
Oh, really?
So I joined when I was 16. My father was fire chief for many years with Malvern Fire Company, still serving as assistant chief. And then he followed in his father's footsteps.
Yeah.
So no choice, essentially.
Pretty much.
So now it's interesting also that Pennsylvania relies so heavily on volunteer firefighters, which is not the norm throughout the country anymore. I guess back in the colonial days it was, but why is Pennsylvania so unique in that kind of situation?
I think partially due to the makeup of Pennsylvania being a commonwealth and, you know, puts everything down on that local municipality. So they were, you know, heavily reliant on volunteers. The first volunteer fire company in the United States was formed in Philadelphia by, you know, Benjamin Franklin, you know, in Philadelphia, and it expanded. And that volunteer system has just, I think, kept the communities kind of tight knit. It was at one point the focal center of the community, the volunteer fire department. But like with anything, you know, times are changing. And the volunteers are dwindling. The volunteer system is dwindling a little bit here in Pennsylvania, especially in Chester County.
Why is that? Like, is there research on why this is happening? Or?
Pretty much just time commitments from those who can put into the volunteer system. Two-income families. You know, we're kind of talking about this before. You know, a lot of the people, the generations before us, you know, they were the one-income families, and they still kind of had time to devote to volunteering, and there wasn't as many activities for, you know, our children to do, and everything like that.
Soccer moms,
the 12, you know, the 12 sports they're playing today.
Yeah, absolutely, and everybody is pulling, you know, for help from these organizations. You know, I mean, my son plays flag football, my daughter plays, you know, fall softball and all that, and you know, they're kind of in the same boat. They're looking for help, and they need the volunteers to help their organizations succeed. And you know, it's just everybody's getting pulled in 20 different directions, and something's got to give.
It's a time commitment issue, and then the other thing is you know, if you do work one or two jobs, and then you get a call at say, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning, you got to go, you know, run out to a fire somewhere, and you're there for what's the average time on a call?
I mean, that could vary. For an actual fire, it's at least a couple hours.
Right. So you're looking 3, 4, maybe 5 hours, and then you got to go do your normal day job stuff.
Right. And or if it's during the day where your employer allow you to leave and go fight a fire.
Some of that is going by the wayside as well.
I used to be on borough council. I was born and raised in Kennett Square, so we had the volunteer fire company there. And I was on borough council a number of years ago, and we were going through the issue of the borough employees. Some of them were volunteer firefighters. And would we allow them to leave their jobs to say they're filling a pothole somewhere, but the siren goes off, and I guess we had the township manager at the time who didn't want them to leave. And we said, well, we need them. That's the whole point.
That's the whole
volunteer
point.
firefighters. Right. And we should set the example for other employers to allow their employees to leave if they can, if they're anywhere in the area, to go fight a fire because somebody's life could be at stake.
Right. And that's a lot of the communities now are kind of getting creative that way. You know, West Whiteland Township, I know, gives a stipend for their municipal employees for whoever can go on calls. East Goshen Township does that. East Goshen actually will park a fire truck at the township building during the day for the public works staff and whoever else can staff that engine to take on calls. So you know, our models and everything, we're just getting creative, and we're just doing, you know, certainly different things to get those fire trucks and ambulances and what we need to show up.
Now, I know up until about 15 or so, 20 years ago, everything was volunteer, the firefighters and the ambulance services. The ambulance services have by and large gone professional. I know they have in Kennett Square,
correct,
Longwood, and some of the other areas down there. And I'm starting to see some blended. I think it was at Coatesville that has a blend of full-time and volunteer firefighters. or is it Downingtown? One of those two, I think, has a one station that's professional, one that's volunteer, something like that.
How it's kind of morphed, and you're correct. With the ambulance service is traditionally the busier service between fire and ambulance.
Yeah.
With our aging population, in the county. So the demand on calls, the demand on training is just that much greater that most organizations have gone the paid route. Using Malvern as an example, we had, we operated a ambulance, a medic service, and then they were cross-trained to be firefighters. So essentially whatever call came in, they kind of handled. And a lot of people are kind of going to that model. West Grove is, as I mentioned, I just moved to that area. They have 6 people typically there during the day that are cross-trained. They can get on an ambulance, they can get on a fire truck, and then during the night they're supplemented, and during the day and during the night they're supplemented with volunteers.
All right, so we need volunteers. So give us your best pitch. Why should somebody consider being a volunteer firefighter?
Just to, I think for that satisfaction of serving your community. We did talk about the other organizations, not taking anything away from them, because everybody needs help. But, I think it's that, that thrill of serving the community. And that's kind of why I've been in it for 25 years now.
It's the hat, right? You like the hat?
Well, it is a cool hat. So you do get a cool hat, but, you get the training provided for you. And everything like that, and I think it is one of those true things that you can give back to the community while doing it.
So, what kind of people are you targeting? Somebody's interested? Is there age situation? Is there what are you looking for?
Everybody. Most organizations vary for the minimum age. Some are 14, some are 16, depending on the systems that they set up. Sometimes they have explorer posts through the local Boy Scout troops and everything like that. Typically it's 16. 16, you can join as a junior member. You can get your training and everything like that, but you can't go into a burning building, though, unfortunately, until you are 18.
Okay.
But anything from 18 on, even, retirees we're looking for, these are volunteer organizations. We do all aspects. So we do, the emergency response of ambulances going to calls, fire trucks going to calls. Then we're also doing the administrative duties of keeping the books and everything like that. So we're always looking for help in everything like that, because if you are consumed as like a fire officer with just, putting your effort towards going on calls, then you also have to worry about the administrative functions as well. So we'll take. So
if somebody who's a bookkeeper, not necessarily looking to run into a burning building, they might be able to use you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Or people with OCD that just like everything in its place.
That's a good thing too, right?
If you have OCD,
you like to clean hoses and fire trucks.
Yeah, absolutely. There's room for everybody essentially.
It's funny. You're aware of the Pulse Point app. So what's the vast majority of calls that they get? It's all medical emergencies. I mean, it's just time after time after time, medical, and then fire. And
but you develop I'll call it a brother/sisterhood, because you spend all that kind of time with those folks. I'm sure they really kind of develop a family atmosphere.
Absolutely, and you're probably spending more time with them, unfortunately, than your true family at times. Depending on, and you are doing those dangerous job functions where you do have to rely on that person next to you, so they do become close friends and they do become family.
Do you still have to do a lot of fundraisers? I remember the bingo games were real big in Canada one time. I don't think they do that anymore. But other kinds of fundraisers to help supplement equipment and oxygen tanks and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, funding is a big portion of it. A lot of people I do think that the municipalities, it's totally funded through the municipalities, and there are some that do have some better funding, from their municipalities versus others. So anything that is not made up there, it would be through the traditional fundraising of the chicken barbecues and the bingos and everything like that. But even those are kind of dwindling by the wayside because of, participation, the time, the effort needed to put into it. And then, a fire truck now for basic pumpers costing upwards to $400,000, $500,000. And you're making $1,000 off a chicken barbecue, where that's a lot of chickens.
Yeah, you guys
we want to keep around.
Didn't last weekend there was a barbecue event over off of Lincoln Ave.
Yeah, that was for the Crime Victims Center.
Do
Yeah.
you know how much was raised at that?
I don't know, unfortunately, but I know it was a great turnout for them.
Yeah.
We're talking with Neil Vaughn. He's a firefighter, but also part of the family. Not only, your physical blood family, as well as your firefighting family, both work together. So kind of convenient for you. You mentioned the training for the volunteers. A lot of first aid, I'm sure, besides just, how do you turn the hose on and off and connect it and that sort of thing. Because you do have opportunities where you may have to save someone's life.
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, most organizations will do a weekly training that picks on a certain topic, and they'll go through those. And there's formal fire and EMS training schools specifically here at the county. We have the public safety training campus in South Coatesville, and that's where they do the basic EMT courses, which is upwards in 180 something hours.
Wow.
Basic firefighter to become a firefighter 1 certified is again about the same time frame, about 180 hours. So there's that time commitment as well once you get in and to do your initial training and the upkeep of your training. So
typically, how many hours are we talking per week on average for a volunteer firefighter?
And really, that varies as well. We'll kind of take whatever you can give. Like I said, usually there's a weekly training night that's a couple hours, and everybody has a kind of a different model. Some people will do it based off, like signing up for a shift, where you can, sign up on a Wednesday night and that's your night, or it's typically then, or whatever the fire pager goes off, then you go. And then, and then there's also, like I said, the administrative side where you're running, committee meetings and everything like that. So really it's just kind of whatever you could give, it's certainly appreciated and could do, what you can put into it.
This is a personal opinion, I guess, question. Would you prefer things stay as they are, or would you like to see the state kind of start to support a little bit more and make what you're doing more of a professional endeavor than a volunteer endeavor?
That is a loaded question. A lot of it goes into it. I think we all need to work together at the local level, the county level, and the state level to identify that the volunteers are dwindling, and we need to support all over. The municipalities are, through their various local codes, they are responsible for the fire protection within their municipality. So we need, kind of their support and understanding. I think we're kind of 20 years too late, and we're working to fix that where, fire companies didn't go to municipalities didn't go to the fire companies too often. And once a year we would get our check and we would say thank you and we would help you with whatever you had type of thing. And that, again, that model is changing where we need to work back and forth and we need to work together.
It needs to change.
The state just recently, there was a state commission, it's called SR6, Senate Resolution 6 at the state level, that identified various initiatives to help keep volunteers around. And it's not going to be one thing that can kind of do it. A property tax relief may not be helpful for a municipality that doesn't have real estate tax, or, for the teenager who's still living in their parents' home, that's not going to be beneficial to them. But, maybe free college tuition will, or, some other type of benefit. So I think if you kind of have an a la carte or like a laundry list of benefits that can help, one of them hopefully would suit, that volunteer.
Well, I don't know if you know what I've been involved in with this whole Sunoco thing, and over the last 5 years or plus, is the lack of preparedness on certain things that come from it. And volunteers, as great as they are, as like you're saying, time commitments, things like that, is one of my biggest concerns has always been putting those folks at risk with regards to having to deal with something that they're not capable or fully prepared to deal with. And, having a more professional fire system in place might be, kind of better, because listen, these things are here. We have aging infrastructure. We have, all these things that are going on. pipes, can have issues. And it's not just these high HVL lines. It's, the natural gas lines, the oil lines that are running through. Like, it's all aging. It's all going to start leaking. But having people that are, volunteers, and that's why I'd like to see the state kind of step in a little bit more to make it so that you guys are going to have everything you need to assist us, the community,
right?
Because you are the community,
right?
So that's just my opinion. I think Pima needs to do a little bit more for us, and not allow us to just remain on this track. Like you said, it's 20 years, a little kind of too late,
right?
We're kind of catching up, so.
Well, Neil, what do people do if they're interested? Do they contact their local fire department, or is there a central?
Just walk in, right?
Yeah, there's a couple different methods. Obviously, you can contact your local fire department, and really, I think the basis why I'm here and we got here is we are about a year and a half into a countywide recruitment campaign through a federal grant. So that's Help Fight Fire. So if you go to helpfightfire.com, if you visit the Help Fight Fire Facebook page. That'll direct you to your local fire company. You'll also put a web inquiry into those of us administering that, and then we'll reach out to tell you who your local fire company is and point you in the right direction, to put you in contact with them.
Or just walk in with a bucket and pair of gloves and say, what do you got?
Right, say I'm ready.
I'm ready to go.
And you get to also ride in cool parades every once in a while, too.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. Like I said, the cool hat, the cool parades, the cool uniforms.
Absolutely. Helpfightfire.com.
Yes.
Some of the dress uniform is cool. But,
yeah.
The other one just looks really hot and heavy.
It can be. It can be, but that's,
part of the job. Neil, thanks a lot for stopping by, and hopefully you can meet all the quotas in all the fire departments, and thanks for all you do, and thank all the heroes, because you're all heroes in our eyes for keeping us alive and keeping us safe.
Great. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Neil Vaughn here on the WCHE Morning Magazine.